What's up guys? In today's video I'm going to be talking about the CPA exam, but first I just want to get this out of the way. I got a microphone. I know a lot of people have been saying the room sounds like an echo chamber, but just know I have a microphone. Also know I'm not using it today because I can't figure it out. It was too confusing and it's like 9 p.m. and I'm like, I'll do it another time. So today, no microphone, but next video there should be a microphone, so no more echo chamber hopefully. But yeah, so I wanted to get that out of the way. But anyway, today's video is going to be about 5 things that I wish I had known before becoming a CPA. So if you're getting ready to go through the process or thinking about going through the process someday, these are things that might provide a little bit of clarity of what you're getting yourself into. And specifically, I'm going to tell you why the CPA exam is not there for the reason you think it is. It's actually, we'll get into it later. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. I walked into my first CPA exam with so much fear that the past 6 months with hours and hours of studying every single day were going to be worthless. I was so afraid that I was going to sit for this exam and be like, yeah, this is so hard, I'm never going to pass. Like, I had heard about the CPA exam for years from like professors, my dad, just the internet, everyone just talking about how difficult this exam was. And like, I was so afraid. I'd heard so much and I spent hours and hours studying every day getting ready for this huge exam. And by the time I got to exam day, I was like, this is gonna be the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. But anyway, I went into the testing center, I started taking the exam and something started to happen. As I looked at the first question, second question, then started going through all the questions, I gained confidence and I started to realize like, hey, this isn't that bad. Like, yes, it's a difficult exam, but like, this isn't as bad as I had, built it up to be. I'd heard about how horrible this was, and I was taking the exam and I was like, oh, I'm doing it. And by the time I walked out of the testing center, to be honest, I had no idea whether or not I passed. Like, I really didn't. But I did know in that moment, I knew if I didn't pass today, I will pass in the future. Because sitting for that exam showed me that it was a passable exam. It was no longer this huge monster that I'd made up in my head. It was a real physical thing that I had just done and seen for myself. This wasn't anyone else's experience. It wasn't what my dad, my professor, anyone else is saying. This was my own experience and I was able to assess it for myself. And I think that is so important. It's why I encourage people so hard to, schedule that first exam, get your eyes on it, just experience it, see what it's like. Because once you do that, it will no longer be this made up monster. It will no longer be an unknown evil. It'll be a known entity, something that you've seen and experienced, and you can assess it for how difficult it is for you, because maybe it is really difficult for you, maybe it's super easy for you. You have no idea. Everyone's going to be different, so that's why you have to get into the testing center and take it for yourself. So that was a very long-winded way of me saying, for me, the exam wasn't as difficult as I had feared, but in general, my recommendation is just sit for the first exam, see how it is for you, because for everyone it's going to be, you have these expectations, it's going to be above or below, and you will never know until you sit and take it, and then you can move forward from there. As I graduated college and I started getting ready for the CPA exam, I was thinking about what it would mean to be a CPA someday. And the way I saw it was a CPA is someone who's like proved that they know accounting inside and out. They've passed the exam, they've taken all these classes, they've got this work experience, they know everything there is to know about accounting, they're an expert. And I went into the CPA process with that mindset where I was studying my review course and really trying to absorb as much as possible and learn as much as I can, because I was like, I want to be a great CPA, and the CPA exam is how you do that. You learn during this process. And then I, eventually passed all the exams, got my work experience, and became a CPA. And I realized that I still feel like a complete novice, a complete beginner, and I feel like I know nothing. And obviously that's not true. I don't know nothing. I know a lot. But my point is, the exam doesn't just teach you everything you need to know, and there you go, you're an expert forever. Just because you're a CPA doesn't mean you're an expert and you never have to worry about anything ever again. Like, you're still an associate at work, or maybe a senior associate. Like, you're still very low on the pecking order, and you have a lot to learn in the next couple decades. So that was one thing that I probably should have known if I really thought about it. But I didn't really realize until I became a CPA, like, just because you pass the exams and everything, like, doesn't mean you're an expert right away. Which leads me very nicely into point number 3. But before I get to that, I just want to say, I'm really enjoying making these videos, and you guys have been giving me a lot of support. I really appreciate that. And if you're enjoying, like, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean the world to me, because I'm trying my best to bring you guys great content. It's 9 p.m. on a Friday, and usually me, like, Oh yeah, I got so many plans on Fridays. You don't even know. Like I'm so booked. Like everyone wants to hang out with me. Like of course, obviously, a guy like me. But you know, I'm making this video for you guys. Like I canceled all my cool plans to make this video with you. Shows how much I care about you guys. Shows how much I care. But yeah, if you could just return the favor to me, like, subscribe. But anyway, let's move on to point number 3. Also, I'm just kidding. I am so happy I'm not out right now. I'm so happy to be making this video. I'm too tired to be going out right now. But anyway, point number 3. This is the one where I realized that the CPA exam is not there for the reason I thought it was there. Because like I said, I thought the CPA exam was there to teach you how to become a CPA and, you know, learn all these things. But I eventually realized through my experiences and things I read online, I saw on the AICPA website, they actually said themselves that the CPA exam is not there to teach you to become a CPA. That's not the point of it. You know, what the CPA exam really is just a barrier of entry. You know, it stops people from just walking into the profession just on a whim, you know? It keeps the prestige of the CPA license, because if you could just get it willy-nilly, doesn't really matter, it would mean nothing. But since you have to, you know, put in, what is it, 150 credit hours, a year or two of work experience, and pass all 4 exams, that shows anyone who holds the licensed CPA is really dedicated to it and, you know, put in the effort and actually cares about the profession. So yes, it is supposed to teach you, but it also is a barrier of entry to like keep the prestige of the CPA license and, you know, have it mean something. So just keep that in mind, you know, So just keep that in mind, because this small, you know, mindset shift might help you a little bit as you're studying. Just remember, this isn't there to teach you, it's there to stop people who don't care about the profession from becoming CPAs. So just keep that in mind, it might help. All right, number 4, and it kind of relates to my previous points about how, you know, I thought I would take the exam and I would be a wizard and I would know everything. But point number 4 is that what you learn on the CPA exam doesn't really relate to your job. You know, like any job is like this, but especially accounting, so much like job specific stuff that you need to know. Like I took the audit exam, I learned some audit stuff, but once I became an auditor and started working, I was like, oh, like I don't really know how anything works. Like I need to be trained on all this, despite the fact that I've taken the audit exam. You know, like I know about, you know, the audit cycle and substantive testing and things like that, but like how does this team do it? How do you email the client? What's the PBC? Like there's just so many things that you don't know, despite the fact that you've passed the audit exam or the reg exams or whatever it is. You know nothing regardless, which just kind of surprised me. And also a little offshoot on that point is you're gonna forget everything. Like you're gonna forget so much. You might think like, oh, I'm taking all these great notes, I'm studying so much, like I'm learning so much, I'm gonna know this forever. But that's just not the way it works. Like you're gonna forget it. I feel like I've forgotten so much that I learned on the exam, and I'm sure it's still in there. You know, like if I went back and jogged my memory, like I could unlock it and understand things pretty easily. But for the most part, you're gonna just like forget. You won't remember everything and have access to all that knowledge that you gained. But yeah, so just to round off that point, just because you pass the exams does not mean you'll be an expert in your position, because there's way too many job specific things that you're gonna have to learn first. All right, and point number 5 is something that thankfully I didn't really have to learn the hard way. A lot of people told me this, so I didn't make this mistake, but you shouldn't wait a couple years or even a little bit before you start taking the CPA exam. You know, I graduated and I instantly got on studying, and a lot of people were like, I want to take a little bit of a break, a couple months, and at the time I was like, yeah, like that's fine, whatever, like sure. But then 2, 3, 4 years later, you're like, oh, they still haven't even, not that you haven't passed the exams, like there's no shame in that. It's that you haven't even really made a consistent effort to study, you haven't scheduled an exam. That's when it's like, okay, like that's inexcusable, but so many people fall into that trap. And I've mentioned before, maybe, I'm not sure, my dad is a CPA, so he's kind of seen the same thing, and he told me, he's like, there's just too many people who, they take a little time and they don't take it, and then they always tell themselves, oh, I'm gonna get into it, I'm gonna get back into studying, and they never do. So I think really it's tough if you give yourself a break. It's tough to try to get back into it. Obviously it's possible, like so many people do it, and if you did take a break, you should try to get back into it. You know, it's not impossible by any means, but it's just, it happens so often. So I just think the best strategy is get right into studying. Maybe give yourself some time, but you have to know yourself. If you know you're culpable of, falling off track and, not being able to get back into studying, then don't give yourself that opportunity. Just get straight into studying after graduation. Because like I said, I've now seen it with my own eyes. People my age who just haven't taken it, or they're like, they need to be promoted at work, but they need to get the CPA first. So now they're having to either like scramble to get their CPA license, or they're trying to switch to a different career or job that doesn't require the CPA license to be promoted further up. So it's just not a situation you want to get yourself in. Obviously you can escape it if you need to. I'm not saying you can't, but just I would try to avoid it. Okay, so those were 5 things I wish I would have known before studying for the CPA exam. And just to recap, they were: get the first exam out of the way as soon as possible because it might not be as hard as you think. Number 2 was you still won't feel like an expert even after you've passed the exams. Number 3 was the CPA exams aren't there to teach you how to be an expert. They're there to be a barrier of entry to the profession. Number 4 was, what was number 4? Oh, you'll forget almost everything and it won't really relate to your job. You'll have a lot to learn once you get on the job. And number 5, don't take a huge break between graduation and studying for the exams. Just get into it as soon as possible and, get them over with. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked, I would really appreciate it if you left a like, and if you want to see more, subscribe, and also check out my Instagram. I just did my first Instagram live today. Shout out to the few of you who were there to see it. But yeah, Joey_CPA, I think that's my name. Go check me out, go follow me, and I'm gonna be going live more often. I'm also gonna be going live on YouTube. Yeah, something I'm trying to get into. So yeah, if you're interested, subscribe. But until then, I will see you next time. Peace.